Hello friends. When I published my video on how to make a tool for cutting circles in acrylics, that video, someone complained that the circles had a hole in them, and what he needed was circles without a hole. The truth is, I was so focused on making a hole that I didn't consider that in these kinds of cuts, someone might want the hole or might want the circle. This person brought me a very interesting challenge. How to get a circle without a hole in the center. In this video, I'm going to show you how I made this and some other options. When it comes to drawing the circle we want, the easiest thing is to get a model with the exact diameter we need, a plate, a tin, PVC tubing, anything perfectly round. The problem is that sometimes we can't find something of the exact diameter we need. Now, the other option is a compass. But a compass will also leave a hole in the middle. Now, if we had a wood or plastic template of the right diameter, this video wouldn't be necessary. We just cut around the template. We can build an iris diaphragm, but unless we need to draw many different circles, it's out of the question. My solution is the following. We cut a length, whatever length we want, of a 2 by 12 millimeter strip of aluminum. We make a big hole at one end for our rotation axis. The center of this hole should be the center of each circle. Then we make as many holes as we want along the length of the strip, 4 different diameters of circles. These holes should be big enough to put a pencil in. If the hole is too small, the pencil won't go through. If it's too big, we must ensure that the line the pencil marks is the diameter we want, or bigger, but not smaller. We can always sandpaper any excess of acrylic. We place a shaft through the axis hole. We also have to make a shoe to hold the shaft in place. This shoe is formed by sticking 2 bits of thin acrylic, one on top of the other. We stick them with silicone like a sandwich. The top acrylic has a hole the size of the shaft, and the bottom acrylic has a smaller hole to check if it is placed exactly on center on our model. Now we must mark the center of our circle. For this we go to the edge of the acrylic and mark a tangent of the circle so the cut isn't too near the edge. And from here we measure and mark the radius of the circle we want. In this case it's 10 centimeters. And we mark there the radius of the circle, and then on the opposite side leaving a space from the edge so it doesn't cut, our circle doesn't cut on the edge, and that's our center of the circle. Now we must first of all stick the shoe together with silicone and then stick the shoe onto the center point. Now you can see the center of the circle right in the center of the small hole. Now we leave it there for 12 or 24 hours till it cures perfectly and stays firmly stuck. Now if you're going to cut many circles, I suggest you have many shoes and stick them on each circle the night before. If you don't want to wait 24 hours or 12 hours, we will have to build the following contraption. If we make a hole in the center of this wood, the exact diameter of the shaft, and hold it firmly onto the table with clamps, the shaft won't move away from the center. However, if it's not firm enough, it can move out of center when turning the tool. Well, I suppose you already know where this is going, how our cutting tool will work. It will work just like this contraption, but with a few differences. We are going to use this wood and clamps to hold the shaft, but the aluminum strip will be a bit different. We cut a similar strip of aluminum and drill a hole for our rotation axis. From the center of this hole we measure the radius of the circle we want and make a cut there up to the center of the strip. This cut should be thin enough to hold the blade of a cutter without any play. Regretfully, the only saw that has that width, 0.4 millimeters, is a jeweler's saw. If you only have a hacksaw, which has a saw that cuts 0.8 millimeter slits, you'll find your cutter blade has a bit of play. And that can cause a zigzag cut instead of a perfectly curved one. This is the reason why we should draw the circle first and then start cutting. The circle line is the guide that will help us create a groove, a path for cutting into the acrylic. If we stick the shoe onto the acrylic and we go carefully, we don't need the contraption. We just need to hold the shaft firmly in place while we cut into the acrylic with a scoring knife. Just be careful with not letting the scoring knife run out of the marked line. We need 2 clamps so it doesn't move this one that way while we're putting pressure on the acrylic. First of all, we go slowly around to create a groove. And then later we can do it by hand without this instrument. We have the groove, a deep groove there, so that the knife doesn't get out of line. Once we have a continuous groove, we won't need the strip of aluminum. If we don't stick the shoe to the acrylic, then we'll need a contraption as follows. When we clamp the contraption onto the shaft, we should have both strips of aluminium on the shaft, so we don't have to clamp it again and most probably get the shoe out of center. If we have stuck the shoe with silicone, this would not be an issue. If we haven't stuck the shoe with silicone onto our acrylic, we should mark the position before putting on the clamps. So if it gets out of position, we know we can't follow the line we draw. Now we place a scoring knife into the cut of the aluminum strip and start scoring the acrylic. We won't be able to do a full circle, just 2 arcs. But once these are deep enough, we can turn the contraption 90 degrees and complete the circle with another 2 arcs. Once we have created a groove all around our circle, we can continue scoring without the contraption. And then we can test, see if it's snapping or not. If it doesn't snap easily, we'll have to continue. There. If we score deep enough, it is not necessary to turn the acrylic over and score the other side. In any case, once we have our circle, we will have to sandpaper the edge so it is smooth. Well, I hope you liked my solution, and if you did, please remember to give it a thumbs up, share, subscribe, and thanks for watching. Bye-bye.